select certain images of a layer to paste on top of a different layer. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've got two photos that I'd like to open up in Photoshop. One is Angelina Jolie and another one is model. So I'll select those images and just drag them into Photoshop and they'll open them up as separate documents. Alternatively, I can always go to File, Open, and then choose my images from there. So what I have here is this photo of Angelina, and if I look over in my layers palette, she's on the background layer with a lock next to her name. The second image I've chosen is in a similar format, so background layer with a lock next to it. So while I have the lock next to it, I'm actually not able to select or move this layer because the layer is locked. And I'm just trying to move this using the move tool over here. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is be able to edit this layer. So I'm going to hit Command J or Control J on Windows. And once I do that, it's duplicated that layer and I'm now able to move it because it doesn't have a lock on it. This is always a good process to go through because you don't want to be editing your background layer. You can always simply just duplicate it and then that'll make your workflow much neater and much easier. Okay, so we'll do the same thing with Angelina. Now what I want to do is move Angelina over to this document. So what I can do is pick her up and holding down my mouse, drag her onto the first document and then drag her back onto the canvas. So there I see I have layer 1 and layer 2. In your layers palette, you can also adjust the opacity. So that's moving down how transparent Angelina is or not. And I can also pick up and move Angelina whether I want to shift her in front of or behind the other image. Another way that you can move images across multiple documents is if you hold down Control and press Duplicate Layer, you will get all the open documents. There's a pull down menu here and then you can select the one that you want. Going back to the original document. So if I wanted to group these two faces, a way that I can organize my files a little bit better is by pressing the Manila folder. A group 1 item will come up and I can click both of these and drag them into group 1. So if I do that, my entire group 1 layer will turn off. Alternatively, I can just click and drag, I can just click to turn off individual layers within that group. Again, that's a very neat way of organizing your files. To click once on your layers palette, you'll be able to rename the image. So we'll call the guy Model 1. We'll call her Angelina Jolie. There we go. And my group, I may call them faces. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I'd like to show you is how to select or make selections of this. Just going to duplicate the group so that I don't break anything. Okay. So let's talk about selections. Using these three tools up here, I have different ways that I can select a part of an image. The first way is using the marquee tool. Now, its default is an elliptical marquee tool. However, if I click and hold down, I can get a rectangular marquee tool, a single column, or a horizontal column. Okay, so let's pick the circular marquee tool. So if I click and drag just over his face, I'll get what we can call its ants running around the area that I've selected. Now, if I wanted to do anything to that layer, for instance, if I wanted to duplicate just that part of his face, I could hold down Command and J, and that is the area of the face that's been duplicated. Okay. So we'll call this one marquee and turn that layer off. Let's work with Angelina for the next one. So the next tool is the lasso tool. So if I click and hold, I have three options down here. I'm only going to work with the lasso and the polygonal lasso tool for today. So the lasso tool basically works in that you can just draw a shape around a face freehand. Notice that it's actually quite difficult to draw successfully using the lasso tool. So what we need to do is roughly select the area that you want to pick up, and then we'll refine that by adding areas or deleting areas from our selection. So using the lasso tool, to add an area, I hold down Shift and I see a plus button next to my lasso. So once I see that plus button, I can then go in and keep dragging around the areas that I want. And to make that as part of a selection, I'm always dragging my mouse in to close that path. Okay, so close to back to the beginning will allow that path to continue. Okay, now I've noticed I've picked up pieces of hair that I don't want either. So to remove any selection, I need to hold down, still with the lasso tool, I need to hold down Option. And you'll notice that when I'm holding down Option to remove from the path, I'm dragging away from the selection, not in towards the middle. Once I'm happy with that selection, again I can press Command J and that will duplicate just her area of her face. Okay? So again, the lasso tool is quite finicky, and it's something that you need to spend quite a lot of time perfecting. Okay, the next tool that I'd want to show you is, I'll just turn these off. The next tool that I'd like to show you is the polygonal lasso tool, and this is really beneficial if you have a geometric object that you need to outline. So how this works is I'm simply clicking and it's creating a straight line in between every point that I click on. So again, it's not perfect, but what you can do is create a rough outline using the polygonal lasso tool, and then go in and refine it by using the regular lasso tool. So remember, if I zoom in here, I can then press plus to add in this part of her ear and drag it into the selection. Holding down Shift to get that plus button up, drag in towards the selection. With the lasso tool, it's also really important to work in small areas because it can be unforgiving once you get a larger selection or start working with a larger selection and then need to undo. Okay, so that is polygonal lasso tool. And the last one that I want to show you is this magic wand. What the magic wand will do is pick up a similar area of color. So if I just click once on the background, you can see I've got ants all around the white area because Photoshop is telling me that that is a similar color range. If I pick his teeth, you'll notice that it actually won't pick up all of them because there are so many different tones and shades within here. So what I can do is bump up the tolerance. So if I set the tolerance to 32, notice that it picks up a larger area of a color. If I bump it up to 64, again it will pick up even more. If I find that I go to say 200 and then pick it up, it's probably picking up way too much color because it's getting his face as well. Let's try 150. So even if I try 150, it's still picking up way too much. So what I can do is go back to our 64 selection, which looked pretty good. And then I can again hold down Shift and a plus arrow comes up and I'll have the ability to select a little bit more. Okay. Now, again, we've got a little too much on the gums. So we can pick the lasso tool, hold down the Option key to minus, and then drag over the areas that we don't want. So again, these are all ways of selecting items, and these will be beneficial for you in your assessment where you need to select certain areas of a particular phase and then apply it to, say, another image to create your Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Okay, so once I'm happy with that selection, all I'm going to do is press Command J again, and there I've got my teeth. Okay, and that's it.